After watching OpenAI's livestream announcing GPT 4.5, I was left feeling completely underwhelmed. The excitement leading up to the release was immense, but the reality, a total letdown. They claim it hallucinates less and feels more natural, but what does that even mean in practical terms? And why are they only comparing it to GPT-4 instead of pitting it against the real competition? Even though I'm not exactly an OpenAI fan, I still expected something more substantial. After all the hype, is this really all they have to show? One of the most shocking moments was seeing how it performed against Deepseek V3. Not even the R1 version, just V3. When I saw the benchmark results, I just sat there staring at my screen. Now it's different from the chaos surrounding Grok 3. At the very least, OpenAI made sure GPT 4.5 wasn't completely unhinged like Grok 3, which was notorious for generating wild and unpredictable responses. But when it comes to performance, GPT 4.5 still fails to impress. In some base model comparisons, Grok 3 Mini even outperforms it in math benchmarks like AM24. And then there's Deepseek V3, an open source model that's been around for 2 months. It surpasses GPT 4.5 in both math and coding benchmarks, with OpenAI's model only pulling ahead in science and multilingual capabilities. Third-party evaluations confirm this on the Otter benchmark. GPT 4.5 scored a dismal 45%, while Deepseek V3 managed 48%. And OpenAI spent a staggering $183 just to run these benchmarks, while Deepseek V3 did it for only $0.34. How is that even remotely justifiable? Despite all this, OpenAI markets GPT 4.5 as a significant step forward, emphasizing its broader knowledge base, improved ability to follow user intent, and greater emotional intelligence. Supposedly, it excels at writing, programming, and solving practical problems. But in reality, the results tell a different story. There are plenty of cherry-picked charts floating around, but if you compare GPT 4.5 to models like OpenAI 3 or Claude 3.7 Sonnet, the performance degradation is obvious. You'd expect a newer model to at least be an improvement over its predecessor, but somehow that's not the case here, and that's where things start to feel absurd. To make matters worse, GPT 4.5 is currently locked behind OpenAI's Pro plan, which costs a steep $200 per month. They say they plan to expand access to Plus users in the coming weeks, but we all know how these things tend to drag out. Meanwhile, OpenAI has also released an API for people to test the model, and the pricing? Absolutely ridiculous. It costs $75 for 1 million input tokens and an eye-watering $150 for 1 million output tokens. Who is this pricing even meant for? Testing this model extensively would drain anyone's wallet in no time. This whole situation makes one thing clear: scaling up doesn't necessarily mean better performance. Instead, what we're seeing is just an excuse to inflate API costs, likely in an attempt to recoup the massive expenses incurred during training. And it's not just speculation. Adder's tests confirm that GPT 4.5 performs worse than Deepseek V3. That's genuinely hilarious. About the only thing it seems to do well is generate SVGs, but even that isn't a huge deal because Claude already does it just as effectively. Coding performance is also disappointing. It's noticeably weaker than previous iterations. At this point, it's hard to say what OpenAI's goal was with this release. If nothing else though, GPT 4.5 does succeed at one thing: making Claude look like an absolute bargain. That being said, there's one small silver lining. Windsurf has announced support for GPT 4.5, which means you might be able to use it there without shelling out $200. But even then, reports suggest it's slower, more expensive, and worse at tool calling than models like Sonnet. Let me know your thoughts if you've tried it, though honestly, I doubt it's even worth the space in your mind.